Coming up on the Geno Auriemma Show, presented by UConn Health.
Now, one player said we should cancel the season. None of the coaches wanted to quit. And we still felt like there was some value in our lives. And even though we're miserable wretches and we're failures, we'll figure out a way to come through this tragedy.
Lessons learned from the Huskies' first regular season loss in more than 4 years. Plus,
I never worry about our best player. Will they get enough shots? Because great players, they hunt good shots. The ball finds them.
And Geno shares his thoughts on parents coaching their own kids.
As the kids get older, you think you're the only one that can coach them. And in reality, that kid would do way better if you got out of the way.
That and much more.
I got an idea. How about we throw it to the big kid and have her throw it to the other big kid, and then we run back on defense? That was complicated.
On the Geno Auriemma Show. Welcome to the Geno Auriemma Show. And Coach, this is our first time sitting down since the loss to Baylor, which is Connecticut's first regular season loss since 2014. What did you take away when you're laughing? What did you take away when you watched the tape after that game?
Well, I mean, a bunch of things. One was how easy it is to just play bad, and how easy it is to just have a collective, lousy game. How easy it is to have every one of your players shoot the ball as bad as it can be shot. And I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. And the fact that it happened the way it did against a really good team on their home floor, I'm not surprised that it happened, that we lost. I'm surprised that we played as poorly as we did, because that's something that we haven't done in a long, long time. But there was nothing on the tape that made you say, wow, I didn't see that. All the things that we talked about on the bench, the coaching staff, what we talked about after the game, that was all that was all on the tape. We showed the players afterwards, and I think that we as a coaching staff, we looked at each other after the first 3 possessions and we said, we're in for a long night. And you could just, you know, when you've been around a team for long enough, you know, you can read their body language, you can read where we are mentally, and you could tell we weren't in a good place, which is really crazy because the practices leading up to us going down there were really good. So did we expect to go undefeated for the rest of our lives during the regular season? No. But I didn't know that, you know, we would do the things that I thought we'd do really well, which is shoot the ball, that we would shoot it as poorly, or move on offense, which is one of our trademarks, you know, our offensive flow. And we didn't have either of those 2 things. And that was disappointing.
You shot 29% in that game, and you say a lot that when you don't shoot well, it exposes things.
Sure.
What did it expose in that game?
Well, sometimes when you shoot really, really well, the kids on the team are conditioned to think that they played well. People mistake shooting well with playing well. So there's been times throughout the last however many years when you get away with it. The ball goes in the basket and the other team misses. In this particular game, what came out was we really have a couple players that aren't really familiar with our offense like they need to be, aren't as up to speed as they need to be on what makes the offense work. And the fact that Fisa, Lou, and Crystal have taken on such a big responsibility, what it showed was that they tried to win the game by themselves, individually a lot of times. So that stuff all comes out when you look back and you don't win a game. It's not that that hasn't happened before. It happens a lot of times, but the ball goes in and it covers that up. I like to think that all the games that we play during the regular season only have one purpose, and that's to find out what it is that we need to be working on to get ready for March. And that doesn't matter if we won that game or lost that game. We would come out of every one of these games going, you know, we're not that good at this, we're not that good at that, we're pretty good at this. The final score of the game really doesn't matter. We're a program in America that's judged by 4 games that you have to win in April. So these games are just meant to give you a blueprint of what you have to fix. Does that mean it'll get fixed? I don't know. Did none of this stuff come up last year on our way? Sure it did. So it doesn't always mean that you can fix it, but you can't say, well, I didn't know that. Now, one player said we should cancel the season. None of the coaches wanted to quit. We still, you know, we still felt like there was some value in our lives. You know, we can still go back to practice and finish what we started, even though we're miserable wretches and we're failures. We'll figure out a way to come through this tragedy. All right, what do we got? Low. Here we go. Whatever you do, you need to do it with some aggressiveness. If this guy steps out here to try to screw everything up, come right in there and catch it and shoot it. Catch that. Because everybody's moving, there's always a one-on-one opportunity in the low post. You can run the same play the entire game.
Seems like it.
You can put everybody in the right spots. If they don't do anything, it doesn't work. We can't be predictable where we're going to do the exact same thing every time. That's what you got to do right there. It's not complicated.
Geno, we are talking offense this block. How often do you tweak or add on plays?
Depends. When you have a somewhat of an experienced team, I think you can make some subtle adjustments as you go along each game. If you have a real young team, you have to be a little more patient, and you maybe have to stick with a couple things, and that's it. We went about 45 minutes, maybe even more. How many offenses did we run? One. You know what goes to show you? You can have 15 of them. You can have 30 of them. And if you don't do it right, none of them work. You could have one of them. And if you do it right, you get everything you want. With this particular team, that's another one of the things we're trying to figure out. We've got 3 players out there that no matter what we put on, we're good to go. Then depending on who you add to that mix, it may click, it may not. So each game is about, you know, a few things that we go into every game with and trying to find out, okay, let's see the things that are really, really going to work tonight against this particular team. And they work, and then we just stay with it, stay with it, stay with it, and we get into a flow. One of the issues that you have when you're playing poorly is you can't find those 1 or 2 things that, you know, let's get going here. And that happens. Even if your contribution is set a good screen, make a good pass, go get an offensive rebound and give us another possession. Okay? Your contribution doesn't have to be 25 points, but it has to be something. And we have to get it. And your number 1 contribution is the energy that you bring to what we're doing. Offense is complicated because it involves a lot of moving parts. And some years you don't, you get 3 or 4 things. I bet you when Stewie was here, we probably ran for, let's say, 2 months, we probably ran like 3 things. But we scored every time down the floor, so it didn't matter.
So players then often dictate what type of offense
Correct.
you'll run for a given season.
Correct. We have some constants that we have, like this is what we're going to do every year, pretty much. But then how we present it and how it looks and what areas we emphasize, that all depends on what kind of players you have. We're always trying to get the ball to that guy in the middle. If we can get it to that guy in the middle, we're going to score every time. We're giving you ideas, but then where you go depends on where the openings are. What do you got? Cut behind them. Good. Some years it's like a machine. And other years it's a slog. And for us, I think you're going to get a little bit of both this year.
Has anyone on this year's team inspired you to run a certain play to their strengths?
Most of the time, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get all 5 players involved in the offense so that we're hard to play against. I think when teams are really concentrating on getting the ball to 1 or 2 players, they're easy to play against because those 2 players are going to be guarded by 5 players. So it's going to be our 5 against their 2. So we try to get everybody involved. But everybody has to be on the same page. You can put everybody in the right spots. If they don't do anything, it doesn't work. You can put different people in those spots, and if they do it right, it works. So it's got nothing to do with what offense are we running. It's got everything to do with the people running it, what are they doing? So this year, we've probably found ourselves running more individual plays for certain players. And that's a little easier to scout. So let's say if Lou's having a really hard time, getting open in our offense, well, that means somebody else is wide open, and they've got to make shots. We went into the Baylor game, for instance, and we said, Fisa, you and Megan are going to be wide open the entire game. There won't be anybody guarding you the entire game. I maybe shouldn't have told them that because they were and they didn't know what to do. So we try to not single out anybody, but we probably should run more plays for Crystal. She's not involved enough in our offense. I think sometimes she gets herself wanting to run stuff for other people. And I think she's got to call her own number more often. And then we probably got to get Kristen and Megan involved more. And I think in time, we'll be able to do that as they become more comfortable. Right now, when the 2 of them don't have the ball, they stand there and wait for it, which kind of mucks up the whole thing. Hey, it's only January. You
mentioned Breanna Stewart. Is there anyone else throughout your time at Connecticut that has made you significantly adjust your offensive game plan? Or was she someone you would consider you did that for?
Yeah, I mean, I never worry that much about our best player. Whenever we have a great player like Stewie, let's say, I never worry about will they get enough shots, because great players, they hunt good shots. The ball finds them. It's a weird thing. They just keep moving and they know where to go and the ball finds them and they score. I don't think there's been any time where we've, when we had Kara and Rebecca, we changed our offense 100% from the year before. It was just like, man, we got a 6'5" kid and a 6'8" kid. I got an idea. How about we throw it to the big kid and have her throw it to the other big kid, and then we run back on defense. That was complicated. One, if you know what you're talking about and you're actually coaching, it's kind of rewarding. If you're, the advice that I would give them would be, you know, when you're coaching from the stands, it's hard because it's hard to hear. So you probably shouldn't coach from the stands that much. If you're coaching from home when your kid's in college, that's even harder. I don't know how they can hear you. But I think any parent who actually enjoys the game and wants to help the kids, you know, where would we be if, let's say, fathers and mothers now, if they didn't coach Little League? Where are you going to go find professional Little League coaches? So you need parental involvement. The problem comes in, obviously, when, as the kids get older, you think you're the only one that can coach them. And in reality, that kid would do way better if you got out of the way. Because unless you intend to join them in college, your tenure as a coach is going to end soon. And the sooner it ends, the better.
When it comes to coaching basketball, do you believe that there is a certain character trait someone needs to have to be successful?
I think from a coach's standpoint, I think you have to be able to get a feel for how it's flowing. Like, where's it going? Like, you can't be caught making the second adjustment. Because whoever's making the second adjustment probably is already in a deep jam. So you've got to be the coach that already sees what's developing, and then you got to react. And if you wait too long, now it's too late. So a coach has got to be like an athlete a lot of times. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to see what's happening in front of you, and then you've got to make the necessary adjustment before that other guy or that other woman makes that adjustment first, that knows it's coming. So it's a little chess game going on all the time. Let's run splits for a while, okay? Okay? Trap the ball screens. Got it? A good trap, and don't let the guy out. That's why you'll see coaches come out of timeouts, you know, and they change defenses. Or they'll be in a timeout and they'll try to, we're running a man-to-man play because they were playing man. So the other coach is going, all right, they're going to set up a play for man-to-man. We're going to go zone. But you're going, listen, I know they're going to go zone because they were just man-to-man, so we're going to set up a zone play. So you can, like, drive yourself crazy doing all this stuff. Or you can have stuff that we try to do is, look, this stuff will work no matter what they're in. You just got to make a good read. You got to make a good adjustment as you go, okay? And that depends on what? Players that have quick minds.
Did you always have that sense, or how long does it take to develop that?
I always thought I had a quick mind and quick eyes. I always thought that I could see things before they happened, as they were coming. I always thought I did, whether it's playing or just watching. That doesn't mean that you can execute it when it does happen, but very rarely was something going to happen that I thought, where'd that come from? Very rarely. And it just was. I don't know where I got it, but it just did. It just did. And sometimes you can even kind of surprise yourself. You know, you can look at something and go, this is what's going to happen. And it actually happens. And you can say, well, that was luck. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's because you've seen enough of these situations to know this is what's coming next. Got to get every rebound, every loose ball. We keep getting open shots, they're going to go in. We keep attacking them, it's going to be good. It's not unlike the interaction between a catcher, a pitcher, and a hitter. Who knows what's coming next? A lot of times you're guessing based on what? Based on little information that you have. I know what this guy likes to throw in this situation. And the pitcher goes, I know what this guy thinks is coming in this situation. So there's always a chess game, and how do you know you made the right decision? If it works.
It's a delicate dance.
If it works. If it works. If it didn't work, you look stupid. But that's the chance you got to take.
We know what you're looking for when it comes to players you're recruiting. Do you look for certain qualities from their coaches at all?
I think one of the things that makes really good teams is players who communicate a lot among themselves. And that carries over, I think, into what makes good coaches and a good coaching staff, is a coach that can communicate. Doesn't matter what I know or what you know. What matters is, are you able to transfer that information to one of your players in a way that they get it? And that, you know, to me, that's the number one thing you want to get from a coach. Do they have the ability to communicate? So that when they're talking to a player, the player understands what they're saying. And it makes sense. And then you build from there. When you were a freshman, you were expected to know X. When you're a sophomore, you're expected to know X plus. When you're a junior, you're expected to know X plus plus. You got to say to yourself, I'm going to be in control of myself all the time. It's unrealistic to think that every player that you're going to recruit is going to come in with a terrific background. You know, that's not going to happen. You would prefer someone that comes in that is schooled in the fundamentals of the game and understands competition and understands how hard they have to work, you know, the commitment they have to make, and, you know, being a great teammate, all those things. You would love to have that. But the reality of the situation is, it's very rare that you're going to get somebody that has all those things. So you have to just kind of, again, take a wild guess and go, I think that kid has it, you know? And then when they get here, you either are right or you're wrong. That kid does have it. No, that kid doesn't. And then you're stuck with them.